In the golden era of American muscle, these weren't just cars. They were fire-breathing monsters that turned quarter miles into battlegrounds and ordinary mechanics into legends. Here are the 10 most fearsome drag strip warriors that changed automotive history forever. Number 1, the 1963 Chevrolet Impala Z11, the silent assassin. In 1963, while the world was watching the space race, Chevrolet was quietly waging its own war on the drag strip. The Z11 Impala wasn't just another hot rod, it was automotive witchcraft. Only 57 of these beasts ever left the factory, each one stripped bare of luxuries like heaters, radios, and even sound deadening. This wasn't cost-cutting, this was calculated madness that shed 300 pounds of dead weight. But the real magic lay under the hood, a savage 427 cubic inch V8 that officially churned out 430 horsepower and 575 lb-ft of torque. Officially being the operative word, because in the world of 60s muscle cars, published numbers were often conservative fairy tales. The Z11's aluminum front end and paper-thin body panels weren't there for fuel economy. They were there because every ounce counted when you're building a street-legal race car. Number 2, the 1963 Pontiac Catalina Swiss Cheese, the heavyweight champion gone mad. They called it the Swiss Cheese Catalina, and it wasn't because it smelled like dairy. Pontiac's engineers, apparently possessed by speed demons, took a perfectly good Catalina and started drilling holes everywhere. In the frame rails, in the body, even in their own rule book. By the time they were done, they'd carved out 400 pounds of excess weight, transforming a luxury cruiser into a lightweight brawler. The result? A $430,000 piece of automotive history that makes modern supercars look common. Only 14 of these monsters were ever built, each powered by a 421 cubic inch Super Duty Phi 8 that allegedly made 420 horsepower. But ask any old-timer who saw one run, and they'll tell you with a knowing smile that 500 horses was closer to the truth. In 2017, one of these rare beasts sold for nearly $500,000. Proof that madness, when properly applied, ages like fine wine. Number 3, the 1963 Dodge Polara 500 Max Wedge Mopars Street Fighter. While Chevrolet and Ford were busy making their cars pretty, Dodge was in the back alley, building brass-knuckled street fighters. The Polara 500 Max Wedge wasn't trying to win beauty contests. It was built to break hearts and records. Mopar's engineers stuffed their mighty 426 cubic inch V8 under the hood, good for 425 horsepower and 480 lb-ft of torque, numbers that would make modern sports cars sweat. Every Max Wedge came with bucket seats, not for comfort, but to hold you in place while the massive V8 tried to rearrange your internal organs. The Max Wedge wasn't just a cute nickname, it referred to the maximum wedge-shaped combustion chambers that helped this beast breathe fire. It was Mopar's way of saying, we don't care how it looks, we care how fast it goes. Before GTO became a household name, Pontiac was experimenting with something even more sinister. The Tempest Lemon's Super Duty wasn't just a car, it was a declaration of war on the NHRA rulebook. Pontiac's engineers stripped everything that wasn't absolutely necessary for making the car go fast, then added a 421 cubic inch V8 that officially made 405 horsepower. But here's where the story gets interesting. That 405 horsepower rating? Pure fiction. The Super Duty's real output remained one of Detroit's best-kept secrets, but when this lightweight warrior hit the strip, it showed its true colors. With 425 lb-ft of torque available at the mere touch of the pedal, it didn't just win races, it changed the game entirely. In 1964, Ford decided to stop playing nice. The Fairlane Thunderbolt wasn't just another muscle car, it was Ford's nuclear deterrent in the horsepower wars. Only 100 of these weapons-grade machines ever left the factory, each one powered by a 427 cubic inch FE V8, breathing through dual 4-barrel Holley carburetors. The result? A conservative rating of 425 horsepower and 480 lb-ft of torque that had Chrysler's mighty 426 Elephant engine looking over its shoulder. The Thunderbolt wasn't subtle about its intentions. It came with fiberglass front fenders, a teardrop hood, and plexiglass windows. The heater? Gone. Radio? Who needs music when you have a symphony of 8 cylinders? This wasn't just a car. It was Ford's way of showing what happens when the accountants take a vacation and the engineers are left unsupervised. Before Hennessy started turning fast cars into faster ones, Holman Moody was Ford's secret weapon. These weren't just modified Mustangs. They were purpose-built warriors. Only 10 AFX, factory experimental Mustangs, ever saw the light of day, but each one was a masterpiece of speed-oriented engineering. Originally equipped with the dual 4-barrel carburetor 427 V8, some lucky examples later received the legendary 427 SOHC Cammer engine, a power plant so potent that NASCAR banned it before it could turn their rulebook into confetti. Power figures? Nobody knows for sure, but when these cars showed up at the strip, everyone else suddenly remembered they had somewhere else to be. Bill Grumpy Jenkins wasn't just a racer. He was a professor of speed, and the Grumpy's Toy 8 was his dissertation. This particular 1970 Camaro packed a competition-spec 430 cubic inch V8 with 427 big block connecting rods and alloy cylinder heads. It was automotive science taken to its logical, tire-smoking conclusion. While this particular toy might not have dominated the winner's circle, it did something perhaps more important. It made the cover of Hot Rod magazine and showed the world what happens when one of the brightest minds in racing decides to build the ultimate Camaro. Jenkins didn't just build cars, he built legends that inspired generations of gearheads. In the world of professional drag racing, Sox and Martin weren't just competitors, they were innovators. Their 1970 Hemi Cuda wasn't just another fast Plymouth. It was the result of years of racing knowledge distilled into one perfect package. With a heavily modified 426 Hemi under the hood, this fish didn't just swim, it flew. Between 1970 and 1972, this car helped Ronnie Sox claim 9 victories, cementing both his legacy and that of the Hemi Cuda in drag racing history. Each win wasn't just a trophy. It was proof that when Mopar decided to go racing, they didn't just participate, they dominated. In a world dominated by the Big Three, AMC was the scrappy underdog that refused to back down. The AMX Superstock wasn't just another muscle car, it was David's slingshot in a world of Goliaths. Born from a collaboration between AMC and the legendary Hearst, only 53 of these giant killers were ever produced. Under the hood sat AMC's 390 cubic inch V8, officially rated at 340 horsepower and 430 lb-ft of torque. But like many muscle cars of the era, these numbers were conservative at best. In reality, these machines were capable of producing up to 420 horsepower, enough to make their bigger competitors nervous. Today, these rare warriors are among the most sought-after AMC vehicles ever produced. Dick Dandy Dick Landy wasn't just a drag racer. He was a showman, a technician, and a legend all rolled into one cigar-chomping package. His 1971 Challenger was the perfect expression of his personality. Flashy enough to draw a crowd, but serious enough to back up its appearance with raw performance. Powered by the legendary 426 Hemi, modified to Landy's exacting specifications, this particular Challenger represented the peak of Mopar muscle car development. In Landy's hands, it wasn't just a race car. It was a statement about what American muscle could achieve when cost accounting took a back seat to pure performance. Every launch, every quarter-mile run, every victory was another chapter in the story of American muscle car dominance. These weren't just cars. They were the physical manifestation of Detroit's horsepower wars, each one a testament to what happens when engineers are given free rein to chase pure speed. Their legacy lives on not just in museums and private collections, but in the hearts of every gearhead who believes that too much power is just enough.